Hi, welcome back to Dear Lydia, and today I wanted to bring a video to you on how I told my relatives and friends that I was 19 and pregnant. So I'll just tell you a little bit of a backstory. I found out I was pregnant at 19 and a half, and I was around 7 weeks when I found out, maybe a bit earlier. And now my little girl is 19 months and her name is Lydia. So how I told my parents, I did discuss this in my last video, but I'll tell you again for those who didn't see. I found out I was pregnant on the 8th of November 2016, and me and my partner found out together. So I didn't think I could keep the secret too long. I came home after finding out I was pregnant and I just told my parents straight away. Their reaction is in my last video, so if you want to check that out, I'll link it in the description below. Then I had to tell my grandparents, which was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done in my life. My grandparents are quite old-fashioned and traditional. They like the whole concept of getting married and then having a family, and I wasn't married, I still am not married, and I had my daughter. So that was quite worrying for me. I knew that they would be supportive after a while, but initially they would probably be shocked. So I called them up, as they live roughly 4.5 hour drive from me, so it was too far to go, especially when I was really unwell during my pregnancy. So I gave them a phone call and I told my grandmother first. She was talking to me about how her day had been going, about my great-gran, how she was keeping, things like that, and I was really nervous to tell her, so I waited until the end of our conversation before announcing my news. So I said to her, "Gran, I'm really sorry if I disappoint you. I've got something that I've been keeping from you that I need to tell you, and I am pregnant." So she was initially really shocked and concerned about how my future would play out. However, she's really supportive now, which is the main thing, and she is such a loving great-grandmother to my daughter. So once I'd spoke to her, I asked her to hand the phone over to my granddad so I could tell him in person rather than him finding out through my gran. I just thought it was nicer to do that and it's more respectful. And me and my granddad have been best friends growing up. He's been such a role model to me, so I only owed him to tell him myself. So I was talking to him about how my day was, what I'd been up to at work, etc. And then I had to apologise because I was scared of disappointing him. I said, "Grandad, I'm really sorry. I don't want to disappoint you, but I found out that I'm pregnant and I'm going to be a mum." And my granddad, he didn't know what to say. He was speechless, but however, he loves Lydia to bits now and he is the most supportive person. He wants the best for us both and he's got our best interests at heart, so that is lovely. So that was how I told my close family that I was pregnant. I did tell other relatives. I've got a half brother and a half sister, and I told them in person when we went out to breakfast one morning. We don't see each other that often. They are a lot older than me. They are in their 40s. So we arranged to meet up for breakfast one day, just us without their kids. And I explained to them that I was pregnant and showed them my scan photo, so that's how they found out I was pregnant. So then I wanted to tell my best friend Jess that I was pregnant, because I knew that she would be a great support system for me. I tell her everything. We are joined at the hip and I love her to bits. So I texted her and asked if she would mind me coming over for a couple of hours. I had some news to share with her and I wanted to catch up with her because we hadn't seen each other for a little while. So I headed on over to hers. This was, I think, a week after I found out I was pregnant. and I had the pregnancy test that I'd taken previously in my pocket, and we were chatting away and she was dying to know what my news was. So I took the pregnancy tests out and handed them to her, and she was gobsmacked. She was over the moon though, and I then asked her if she would be the godmother of my daughter. I had discussed this with my partner before telling her, and he was happy to allow me to ask her to be godmother, and she is the best godmother that a daughter could have. Her and Lydia have such a lovely bond, and it's so nice to see them together. So I'm really lucky to have such a supportive friend. I've got another group of friends who I went to school with. I've grown up with them and I've known them for years and years. So I organised a Christmas girls' night with them, as I found out quite late on in the year that I was pregnant. So we had a girls' night together and we were having some food, watching some TV, chatting away, catching up and gossiping, as girls do. And I had put one of my scanned photographs inside a sealed envelope and wrote all their names on it. So it said, to Ellie, Lauren, Alicia and Sophie, and I put it in the middle of the coffee table where we were sitting. And they were wondering what it was, and I told them it was an early Christmas present. So I asked them all if they wouldn't mind opening it together so I could see their reaction. And they opened it, and one of them pulled out the scanned photograph, and the girls were so excited for me. They were shocked and weren't expecting it, but they are a great support for me. And they all love my daughter to bits, and you can tell that because they organised a lovely baby shower for me. I talked about that in my last video, and they've just been there for me ever since, so I'm really lucky to have such good friends. Next, I told the girls who I went to college with. We organised to go out for tea one night. We went to TGI Fridays and they were having cocktails. I had to have a mocktail, obviously, because I was pregnant, and they did think that was a bit off, but I made the excuse that I was driving. So that was that, and midway through the meal I wanted to tell them that I was pregnant, so I pulled out my scan photograph and my pregnancy tests, and they got the shock of their lives, and they were really happy. They were wondering how I had kept it from them for so long, because we used to talk on a regular basis, but nevertheless they're really supportive, and I am really lucky to be friends with them. I'm still friends with them to this day, even though we're not at college anymore, and yeah, I'm just a lucky girl. So after that, the last group of people that I needed to tell was my work colleagues. Currently, at that time, I was working in a care position. I was a support worker for adults with severe learning disabilities and special needs. So I needed to tell my work colleagues and my manager that I was pregnant, just to keep myself safe, as I was dealing with some aggressive behaviour, heavy lifting, things like that. So I asked my boss if I could make an appointment to sit down with her, and there was something that I wanted to speak to her about. So that was fine. I came in at my break time and I wanted to tell her that I was pregnant, so that was one of the most nerve-wracking times in my life. I had only been at that position about a year. I was still relatively new to my role and I was worried about what they would say. So I went into the meeting, sat down, and I just came out with it, and I told her how far along I was in my pregnancy, and I took my maternity certificate from my midwife so that she could put it in her files, etc. However, she took it really well and was really kind about it. And then I went out and I told all my work colleagues after I told my manager, and everyone was lovely about it. They were all excited for me. One of my work colleagues was due to become a grandma around the same time as me, so that was lovely. We had things in common. We were looking at baby clothes together. It was really nice. and she actually crocheted and knitted some baby items for me, which was so kind. I just feel so lucky to have such a supportive network of friends. I know some people don't have very good support. A lot of people, when you're a young mum, look down upon you. However, if anyone does need a friend, if you're a young mum and you're watching this, I've got an Instagram where you can DM me and I'll be there to support you 100%. My Instagram is Dear Lydia 2019, and I'll pop that in the description box in case you missed that. So yeah, that's basically how I told my friends and family that I was pregnant at 19. Most of them took it very well. Initially everyone was shocked, but they're now really supportive, and my daughter has got a great network around her. She's got lovely support and everyone loves her to bits. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.